Dr. Cox, thank you very much for your testimony. We're going to have lots of questions today. Each of us will work through about 5 minutes at a time. I'd like to get a question in for each one of you in my time period, and so I'm going to kind of be quick on my questions, and I'd ask you to be brief so that I can get to everybody here in about a 5-minute period. Dr. Cox, as an AI model engineer, in just a few words, how can we improve the transparency of models, particularly in high-impact sectors like financial services, so that regulators and institutions can better understand, evaluate, and trust their outputs without stifling the innovation necessary to stay ahead of our competitors?
That's a great question. Thank you for that. I think there are really a couple parts to that. One is open models, an open ecosystem. It allows transparency. It's a tremendous lever for us to be able to engage more people, to have transparency, to understand what's in those models. The second piece is having strong governance frameworks, such that when we deploy models, we understand the stakeholders, we can track those models over time, and ultimately that gives rise to the kind of auditability and transparency that we need in this industry.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cohen, how can AI be used to improve market surveillance and identify emerging risks such as manipulative trading patterns or flash events without compromising fair access for smaller market participants? You may want to turn your mic on. There we go.
So we currently employ AI in our surveillance solution in 2 ways, and they're very important. One is alert calibration, where we run different scenario tests on the type of trading activity we look at and see in the market. And as trading becomes more sophisticated and more complex, training and calibrating the alerts to make sure that they can identify real market abuse versus false positives is incredibly important. So you can reduce the false positives and focus on the higher risk items. That's number one. And the second thing that we're doing is we're helping investigators. And we're helping investigators through Gen AI, where once an alert is generated, we can then take all the manual tasks that an investigator otherwise would have to conduct themselves and could take hours for them to conduct. It could take minutes. And then we can also rank it in terms of the probability of risk associated with that. So you're increasing the speed, the efficiency, and the effectiveness of the investigator to identify patterns of market abuse. And so that's what we're doing in financial crime today, or market abuse today.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kalinich, as AI tools are increasingly integrated into underwriting, claims analysis, and risk modeling, how is the reinsurance industry approaching the challenge of ensuring companies that develop or deploy advanced AI systems? How has generative AI versus machine learning changed this ecosystem?
The reinsurance markets are critical to the long-term success of insurance because they focus on non-correlated diverse risks that allow more capital to be deployed. An analogy can be made to cyber insurance, where early on there was not enough capital. There wasn't enough limits for the insurance. Over time, we developed actuarial models so that we could better determine the frequency and severity of the cyber risks. AI is going to be similar. We have to have some type of benchmarking, some type of actuarial modeling for the frequency and severity of the risks. The reinsurers are in the process of developing those type of models and aggregating information, loss data from the insurers so that they can deploy greater capital, which will spark more growth for AI development.
Thank you, sir. I've got a minute left, but Mr. Cohen, I've got to ask you a question that I think is one that it may be a little bit of a curveball for you, but I want to try it anyway. We know that our adversaries on an international scale would love to have the ability to influence using cyber operations, our financial institutions and financial capabilities and our markets in particular. Simply being able to delay milliseconds on trading activities within any one of our markets could be really detrimental to the security that we expect and the stability of the markets, including perhaps even shutting them down in some cases. Can you talk to us about what the threat of AI being used by other adversaries might be in the need for us to have a better system in place as quickly as possible to detect and correct those abnormalities that might be being used by adversaries in the future?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Rounds. That's a very important question because investor confidence and trust in our market, and you've heard it from the other panelists here, is paramount to the way that we operate our markets. And whether it's risk introduced by AI or any other technology the bad actor might be using, we must have a very robust and mature info security posture. And we do at NASDAQ. As a highly regulated institution, we have Reg SCI that we follow. And we also understand the role that we play in the market. So our CISO and Chief Information Security Officer uses the latest and greatest tools. He coordinates with industry and peers. This is not a competitive element for us with other exchanges. This is one where we share and we collaborate, and together we are stronger than alone when we're trying to defend our markets. And so being able to collaborate, share that information, making sure we have a mature posture, and very importantly, training our employees. So most of the risks are not introduced through the technology coming through our systems because we air gap them. They're very well designed. They're architected in a way that protects them. The most important element we can have is to train our employees on what to do, what to look for, and what not to do. We are a global company with 9,000 employees, so we take that responsibility very seriously, all the way to the CEO level where we make it part of our town halls.
Thank you. Thank you.